tensions between the US and Venezuela as America goes after another oil tanker. It's the third interception in less than a week. Trump says he's fighting the war on drugs, but is it also a war for oil? Also tonight.
The Prime Minister of Australia, Anthony Albanese.
The Australian Prime Minister is booed at a memorial event for the victims of the Bondi Beach attack. Plus,
there's the X, and there is the ashes retained.
How can England rise from the ashes? Tough questions for the team after one of the quickest ever defeats. And Home Alone at Christmas, how to make sure your pet doesn't get the winter blues.
This is ITV News with Yasmin Bodalbhai.
Good evening. Tonight, the US and Venezuela are embroiled in a major row in the Caribbean, with the US Coast Guard confirming it's pursuing a third oil tanker in a week and its second in 2 days. Officials in Washington argue the vessels could be smuggling oil from sanctioned nations and that it's an ongoing tactic in their war on drugs. But Donald Trump has also said that there's oil in Venezuela that is rightfully the US's, and he wants it back. Our political correspondent Carl Dinnan reports.
The Centuries was boarded by US forces in international waters early yesterday. It was the second tanker suspected of busting US sanctions on Venezuelan oil to be intercepted by the US Coast Guard in recent weeks. And tonight the US Coast Guard is widely reported to be in pursuit of a third vessel. It is all creating a deep sense of unease in Venezuela.
The majority of the population feels really nervous. The economic situation has been worsening in the last recent months. Nobody wishes to be engaged in an open wide war. I mean, because that will worsen even more the economic situation of the country.
Donald Trump accuses the regime of Nicolas Maduro of drug trafficking and terrorism, which they deny. Trump also talks about recovering US oil assets, which he claims were stolen by the regime. American forces have been exercising ostentatiously in the Caribbean, although even Trump's supporters are wary of sending them into Venezuela.
I'm in support of this. I'm in support of sanctioning the ships to sort of tighten the noose on Maduro. And as it relates to regime change, listen, we got to be very careful about this. I'm very reluctant to support putting American troops on the ground unless America's interests are very much at risk.
At the same time, US airstrikes have continued on vessels they say are transporting narcotics. So far, the US has not offered any evidence of drug smuggling, but it's thought that more than 100 people have been killed in the strikes.
And Carl is here. Carl, what's been the response from the Venezuelan government?
Well, they say that the boarding of tankers is nothing short of piracy. And in fact, in the last few minutes, we have had a new statement from President Maduro saying for 25 weeks, Venezuela has been denouncing, confronting, and he says defeating a campaign of aggression that ranges from psychological terrorism to pirates who have attacked oil tankers. We are prepared to accelerate the march of the profound revolution. But the truth is that life is getting more difficult in Venezuela, with queues reported at petrol stations as people start to worry about whether their oil can continue to be processed. That said, the government does have other sources of income. Quite a lot of oil is still actually sold, isn't sanctioned, and is still sold to the United States. So it's not clear that if the United States actually wants regime change, they will be able to do it with this blockade alone.
Okay, Carl, thank you. A week on from the brutal sound of gunfire at Bondi Beach, silence fell today. Mourners gathered to remember the 15 people killed at the Hanukkah festival. Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese was booed as he arrived, blamed by some for not doing enough to prevent the anti-Semitic attack. Rosie Dowsing reports.
A show of solidarity in response to the horror unleashed by two gunmen near Bondi Beach. A national day of reflection, 1 week on from Australia's deadliest attack in decades. The overwhelming feeling is still one of disbelief.
It's hard to comprehend, really. Like, such a safe, happy place, like our favourite place in the world, to like feel so much fear is like something you would just never even imagine.
It was our safe place, it was where we met friends, it was somewhere sacred in our lives, and this has been tarnished and ruined, I think, for a long, long time. Very sad and very angry.
A minute's silence marked the start time of the anti-Semitic attack, which left 15 dead at Hanukkah celebrations last Sunday. And, amid the grief, a feeling of anger.
The Prime Minister of Australia, Anthony Albanese.
Australia's Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, didn't speak at the vigil, but he was greeted by a chorus of boos when he arrived. Earlier, he announced a major review of the country's security agencies, but pressure is mounting for him to launch a federal royal commission to further investigate how this could happen. As for the suspected attackers, while Sajid Akram died at the scene last Sunday, his son, Naveed Akram, will make his first court appearance tomorrow. He's been charged with 59 offences, including 15 counts of murder. His youngest victim was 10-year-old Matilda, today honoured by one of the country's most traditional songs. As Australians came together to radiate love for those who had their lives cut short by hate. Rosie Dowsing, ITV News.
9 people have died after a group of gunmen carried out a shooting at a pub near Johannesburg in South Africa. Police say a further 10 people were wounded in the attack, which took place early on Sunday morning. It's the second mass shooting in South Africa in 3 weeks. The Electoral Commission says it will not investigate Nigel Farage's general election spending after accusations the Reform UK leader had broken the law. The elections watchdog says it hasn't identified any spending which should have been declared nationally. A spokesperson for the party called it a politically motivated complaint. And more than 41,000 people have now crossed the English Channel in small boats this year after a flurry of activity on Saturday. 803 people made the journey, the largest number in a single day since October. A ban on trail hunting is among the measures being put forward tomorrow as part of the government's animal welfare strategy. While bans on puppy farms and electric shock collars for pets will be largely popular, it's the tightening up of rules on hunting that will be more controversial. Charanpreet Kaira has more.
This might look like a fox hunt, but there's no fox. It's a trail hunt, where hounds follow a scent instead of a live animal. Typically, a rag soaked in animal scent is dragged through fields and woods, laying a path for hounds to chase, mimicking the thrill of a traditional hunt. Since fox hunting was banned more than 2 decades ago, trail hunting has become the new Boxing Day tradition across the countryside. But tomorrow, the government is expected to outlaw the practice as part of its new animal welfare strategy. Critics say it can still be cruel to wildlife that cross the hound's path, and argue that trail hunting is sometimes used as a cover for real fox hunting.
Hunts are determined to get around the law, so they've invented this sport called trail hunting, but it's just a smokescreen to cover up illegal hunting, and the time's come to end it once and for all.
The League Against Cruel Sports reports that this autumn alone, more than 100 foxes were chased, and there were more than 300 reports of antisocial behaviour linked to the hunts. Banning it was a pledge in Labour's manifesto, but supporters say they fail to understand rural traditions.
They're conducting a lawful activity, they're following a smelly rag across the countryside, getting plenty of fresh air, and it's good for their physical and mental health. It is not a priority to ban a lawful activity.
The government's strategy is also expected to tackle puppy farming, consult on banning electric shock collars, and introduce measures to improve welfare for farm animals. The ban won't come into effect in time to stop this year's Boxing Day hunts. The hounds will still run next week, but next year the tradition could be left in the past. Janabrit Kera, ITV News.
The inquest is underway into England's latest cricket debacle. Defeat in the third test in Adelaide surrendered the Ashes in the quickest time since 1921, and it's raised big questions over the future of the coaching setup, as Chris Scudder reports.
There's the edge, and there is the Ashes retained.
So the post-mortem begins. Defeat inside 11 days leaves England facing the prospect of another Ashes whitewash and an appalling record down under. In the last 18 tests in Australia, England have lost 16 and not won a single one.
It's obviously incredibly disappointing. We've had moments where we've been, very good, but Australia have been a lot better than us on, over a much longer period of time in the series so far.
At least they went down fighting in Adelaide. Jamie Smith's innings of 60 was the kind of baseball aggression which has brought success in recent years.
He's gone again.
But it also cost him his wicket. So could it be time to drop the cavalier approach?
Australia was so determined, baseball not to succeed, and that's what they managed to do.
With baseball comes the coach, Brendan McCullum. Should he go, Monty, do you think?
I think he's got 2 test matches, really. If we see the same results, the same patterns, the same collapses, then I'm sure Rob Key and the people above the ECB, they would probably have a quiet word with Brendan McCullum and say, look, I think it's time to move on.
What did we get right? What did we get wrong? Probably go back to the preparation as well. I know that that'll be something that's questioned, and when you've lost 3-0, you've got to put your hand up and say, maybe I didn't get that preparation right.
With the Melbourne Test days away, Aussie cynics might even crow that beating the Poms is as much a Boxing Day mismatch as Anthony Joshua knocking out Jake Paul, and that hurts. England will know it's time to regain some lost pride. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
In the Premier League, Aston Villa go into Christmas third in the table after beating Manchester United 2-1. Both the Villa goals were scored by Morgan Rogers either side of half-time, and the England midfielder rounded it off by making one fan's Christmas wish come true, giving him his shirt. Now, when you think of Home Alone this Christmas, it isn't just about the film. Britain's leading animal charities are warning many of our pets will be left out of the fun, paying the price for the change in our routines over the festive period. Our consumer editor Chris Choi reports.
For a minute, look at the festive period through a dog's eyes, and it's all a bit strange. All the unfamiliar objects and odd behaviour. Imogen and Rob recently adopted Rocky from an animal shelter.
I think we're very conscious because everyone's sort of buzzing around the place, going to places and going to family members. And the question is, what do we do with Rocky?
I think he's going to have a lovely time, and I really want to make sure it's not distressing or overstimulating.
Home alone pets are a problem at this time of year. Animal charities fear that while we're so busy, they can be forgotten. It's recommended that dogs are not left alone longer than 4 hours, but new Dogs Trust findings show the average time for them to be left is now 4 hours 48 minutes, and 72% of owners say they walk dogs less in the winter.
This is Rolo.
This animal behaviourist says we often see dogs as part of the family without really thinking about how they can be part of the festivities.
Different people coming into the home. Are our dogs comfortable with these people? Or could we make sure that they have got a room that they're comfortable in, where they've got something that smells of us, their own bed?
And when it comes to festive foods, there's an RSPCA warning.
Things like chocolate, mince pies, Christmas pudding, gravies, alcohol that we might see more of this time of year that can be really harmful for pets.
If this time of year leaves you disorientated, animal charities say it can be even worse for our pets. Chris Choi, ITV News.
Finally, it's that time of year when you see quite a lot of Santa imposters, but maybe not quite like this. 11,000 of them took to the streets of Madrid today, dressed as either Father Christmas or one of his elves, for the annual charity marathon in aid of the Red Cross. While over in Rome, another 1,000 Santas ditched their sleighs for bikes to take part in the annual charity cycle. But which one is the real Santa? That's it from us tonight. From all of the team here, sleep well, good night.